we did that.
I'm Ryan.
And I am Julia.
And together, once again, we are functionally literate.
We sure are.
Today, we are talking about the Obelisk Gate, chapters 16 through 18. This is book 2 of the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I want to go ahead and at the top thank Vidwest Studios for providing us a space and all of our equipment. Mm-hmm. We love that. Couldn't do this without you. Want to thank Jake Weller for all of our music, sound effects, intro, outro. I keep burping. Our intro, outro, our like chapter music, our ad break music, like all that. He did all that. If you want to listen to some of his music, check out his album, Wasting Time. Julia has.
I sure have.
Listened to it.
Yes.
It's literally one of my favorite things. Like, that was at the top of my Spotify Wrapped.
That's amazing.
I never told Jake that. Do you know what was at my second top?
What?
It was Elton John, and I got like a cute little video from him saying like, "Hey, thanks for being like one of my,
I didn't realize you're such an Elton John fan.
I don't know. I was surprised too. I don't think I listen to a lot of music.
Goodbye,
and like when I do, it's kind of like more upbeat stuff or instrumental. But anyways, and thank you, Julia, for being here.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me.
Yeah. So, what happened last time?
Well, a few things happened. Let's see. We
cut off Donkey's arm
because she's acting fool.
Yeah.
But she found love. We found love. Tonky found love.
We have someone that wants to fuck us. That's
fine. It's not love.
And it was out of pity too. It wasn't like even earnest.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
Our daughter killed a lot of people.
A ton.
Like 20.
Like daughter.
Like 23 people, I think.
Like mother, like daughter.
Yeah.
The apple doesn't far fall from the tree.
Yeah. Turned him to stone like a boss.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, Kastrima was threatened by a gray stone eater who wants to fucking wants to kill us all, probably.
Basically.
Like, join us or die. Also, the Ragas can't come with you.
Yeah.
Which totally just incited all of this tension and...
They made a mess, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get into chapter 16. You meet an old friend again. What makes a person a human? So, this chapter starts interesting. There's a little passage from Hoa. He's like, he wants to keep telling the story as he has from second person because it helps him feel closer to Asun and less lonely. He's, it makes me wonder if in the third book, Asun's POV will no longer be like that.
Interesting.
Right?
It's not going to be us anymore.
I wonder if it'll be Hoa still telling the story, but he'll be telling it from his point of view.
This is what Asun does.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just got used to this. Just kidding. But we get a beautiful conversation.
Yeah. So this chapter picks up where chapter 14 left off. So Hoa's stone eater form, it's stark black with like little white and silver marbling veins, which
it's
I thought
fucking
was cool.
Spooky is what it is. Go back to the child. I'm freaked out.
The whites of his eyes, they're matte black.
Hate it.
But the centers are ice white, the consistent thing, because he had ice white eyes before.
Yeah.
His face, it looks like his human form's face, only it's a young man instead of a child. Asun asks him which is the lie.
Yeah.
And he's like, neither of them are a lie. Both of them were true at different points in my life.
Yeah.
And then like there was like this little moment that like kind of helped convey to Asun that like this really was still Hoa, because like she wants to go touch his egg because, like, when she put all those rocks in him, he, like, went into, like, a chrysalis thing, and then,
Right.
he came out of it. And, like, so, like, she wants to touch either him or it, and he's like, don't, it's really hot. Like, this is how I clean myself without soap.
That's why he's stinky.
Right, but, like, that's what made her, like...
Think of him as a child.
To remember that the whole funny interaction with the soap where he's like, I have no idea what the fuck this is for.
Yeah,
he just stared at it like,
Whoa. And it's interesting too because, they're talking about...
We, as I recall, made a comment about, like, when he was a person.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you a person? Like, are you a human?
Yeah, we ask if he's human.
Yeah.
Because we remember Alabaster telling us that Stone Eaters were human at one point. And he says, officially, no. But...
He says, no, fuck what the Fulcrum says. What do you think? What do you feel? She's like, I am human. And he's like, well, I feel human too.
Then so am I, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was so interesting, like, because Alabaster was going fucking on about how, like, they are not fucking human. They are fucking ancient things that don't remember what it was like to be human.
Yeah.
But then also at the same time, here's Hoa, like, I still feel like me.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, so much time has passed and it goes back, okay, what makes a human?
Yeah.
And I think that, without getting so deep, it's like that
sci-fi books talk about this with AI.
Right. Is it the soul? Like, is it you eat, you sleep, you poop, you need to do human things? Or is it more about consciousness and the ability to make decisions, the ability to choose, to have opinions?
To have creativity?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think that is
and
looser.
Say what you will about Hoa. I mean, Hoa has humanity about him. Like...
Oh, absolutely.
Even as a stone eater, he, like, in this chapter, we see that.
He loves, too.
Yeah.
He loves her. Whether it's different.
Maybe that's what it is. That's what makes you human, right?
Your capacity to love.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. I love that.
Like, but yeah, so, like, they have this whole conversation, like, and we learn a lot. Like, we learn why he wound up in that obelisk in the first place. He's, like, pissed off the wrong Raga.
Literally, because she said, how'd you get here? Why were you in that obelisk? Interesting, because we still don't, like, know much about Hoa, like, at all.
We know that he's driven to protect Nassun.
That's, like, kind of the beginning and the end, and that he has some sort of motive, but we don't know anything about his history, about his past lives, like...
No.
Yeah.
I mean, what is there to know, right? He's like this eons old creature. He probably has forgotten more about himself than, like, we could remember in an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Alabaster, what he's talking about, has a ring of truth to it. Because, like, he clearly doesn't remember what it was like to be a human as we understand it. But
he's always had the capacity to maybe
experience all these emotions that humans feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so then, like, the other thing. She's like, why are you attached to me? Like, what about me is so special? And he was like, you asked me if I was all right. And that was it. Like, that's where the love stems from, I think, Like, like, their first interaction was her just straight up like,
caring.
Are you okay?
Beautiful.
And he's like, thanks for asking, I'm good.
I love that. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, so after they're done talking, Asun's like, hey, we need to go talk to Ika.
Yeah.
Come with me. And he's like, I can't walk with you anymore. She's like, well, shit.
He's like, I got a zoopy zaps from there to here.
Yeah, so he's like, zoops into the ground. She walks over to Ika, who is still, because so something that like that's important here between the events of chapter 14 and what is this, chapter 18? Between the
This is 16.
This is 16. Before the events of this one in chapter 16, fucking we took a nap. Like, we slept.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we slept, but we slept.
Right.
Like, we are, rested now.
Mm-hmm.
And Yika is still fucking talking to all these people. Not everyone that was there at first is still there, but she is still arguing for what they should do with anyone that will continue talking to her.
Right.
She's straight up filibustering her calm.
Right.
She's like, look, we've got to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're putting it to a vote, but she is arguing for what her vision is.
Yeah.
This whole time, which is stay and fight.
And be together.
Yeah. Like, don't, like, split off the ragas.
Right. She's fighting for, herself but like what she believes in. So, and like what makes Kastrima so special.
Mm-hmm.
And we're basically like, you're coming home with me.
Yeah.
Not in that way, but
like... yeah, we make Yika go home.
Yeah.
And then there's Hoa. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, we make her eat and drink.
Yeah.
And then, like, Hoa's there, and she's like, what the fuck?
And the visual of just, like, him, like, standing in the corner with his one creepy expression looking, like, real creepy.
Yeah.
Just, like,
and
nightmare fuel.
And so, like, we have this whole conversation here with Hoa talking about, like, what the Stone Eaters want. Like, speaking for the Stone Eaters. He's like, I can't speak for my people any better than you can speak for all origins.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like,
no, I think that's correct.
Yeah. But then, we're like, do it anyway. Speak for your people.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, some of us want to do our own thing. Some of us want things to be the way they are. Some of us want to, help humanity. And some of us want to kill humanity. Like, some of us want to help humanity, but we don't all agree on what that means. We're people. Like, he shrugs. He's like, we're people.
I fucking love this because I think sometimes in fantasy it is so easy for the author to take the route of like, race or species all together.
Yeah.
And like, no, this is so nuanced. Like,
the thing that I find really interesting about this book is the setting is very insular, and by that I mean it's completely focused on this planet, Earth.
Right.
It's focused on Earth. There's no alienness to it. Like, not even the magic is alien. The magic comes from the Earth itself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I really love that because it's all about people.
Yeah.
Like, even the magic is about people.
Yeah. You're right. You're totally right. It makes it so it can be as character driven as we were talking about in the past episode.
Mm-hmm.
But they basically are together and they're kind of talking about what that one fucking Stone Eater.
Yeah, Ika wants to know what the Gray Man wants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hoa, I think he says he doesn't know. Aesun's like, yes. And he's like, he doesn't want Aesun to activate the Obelisk Gate.
Right.
Is basically what he says. Like, if it isn't activated, the season won't stop, and the Stillheads and the Origins will eventually die. I would say humanity here, but this conversation about what makes a human, like, it kind of makes me want to draw a distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm all for viewing Stone Eaters as humans as much as I am in favor of viewing Origins as humans. Right. They're fucking people.
But one of these can withstand a season and the other can't.
Yeah, the Stone Eaters fucking can withstand a season. The Origins, they still eat shit and drink water like the rest of us. Mm-hmm. So, they probably won't survive.
Right.
And the Stills, obviously won't
Definitely
survive.
not.
Definitely
they
not.
Don't stand a chance.
There's not.
So this Stone Eater's like, fuck them.
That's what the gray man is
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. Really only cares about Stone Eaters living. They're like, we can live with this crazy fucked up Earth. Like, it's fine.
And so then the conversation kind of transitions to Ika and us, Asun, like arguing about who you can trust, because she's like, I have the strong backs, like guarding all the weapons, so like, you know, nobody's gonna go fucking nuts. And Asun's like, you can't trust the strong backs. And then they have this kind of like, to me, felt like it was a race conversation, you know, like, because like we're fucking talking about lynch mobs and like, you know, like, oh, they're not all that bad conversations, right? Like Asun's arguing like Kastreema's no different than any other fucking comm, and Yika's like, fuck yeah, this place is different than other comms.
You're living here among other stills, and not in hiding,
yeah. Like, because like, let's not forget, they were arguing about how to get Yika trained.
Right.
They were still arguing about it when the rifting happened.
Yeah.
While she pursued her training on her own while they argued about that. But they didn't seek out to kill her. They sought out how to make her useful, which is something that Asun doesn't like. Like, she kind of uses that against her. Like, you know.
They saw you as a resource, not a person.
Being found as a useful thing is not the same as being loved.
Exactly.
And so, like, I don't recall Yika really having any kind of argument against that. Like,
I love this. Like she says, Kastreema is my home, same as theirs. I've worked for it, fought for it. Kastreema wouldn't be here if not for me, and probably some of the other Ragas who risk themselves to keep it all going over the years. I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
And Asun is basically like,
you can't unteach hatred.
Yeah, and you need to look out for yourself and your own.
Yeah. Yika's stance is you can unteach hatred.
Yeah.
Asun's like, you don't have time.
They have such an interesting friendship, too.
Yeah. She calls her, what was it, Essie?
Yeah, love that. See, again, so good.
But, yeah, so the chapter basically ends with Ika like, hey...
don't start any shit.
But prepare in case shit happens. Go talk to the Origins, talk to them like one-on-one or in like little small groups. Like, don't like, just small. Like tell them not to do anything, but to be ready, basically, you know?
And it's sad too, because at the end, you know, she's like, you know, you're right. The belief that Origins will never be anything but the world's meat dances amid the cells of you like magic. It isn't fair. You just want your life to matter.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just want your life to matter.
The fuck?
Okay. Well, so there was a little end blurb.
Yep.
The dead have no wishes. From Tablet 3, Structures, verse 6.
Eee! That's spooky.
If I were to guess what this is referencing, it means that people who are alive shouldn't do something because someone who is now dead wanted you to do it.
That makes sense.
Like, for example, if one of the Kastreemans told a relative they wanted to be buried on the surface, why should that relative do as they say? They're dead. Realistically, because these people are going to have to take drastic measures, that body is better spent being used as food. Like, your body would be better put to use if someone ate you.
Yeah.
You know?
Hate that, but truth, I guess, in their situation.
Like, why the fuck should I bury you? Yeah. No, you wouldn't be useful that way.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyways,
that's chapter 16. Really.
Let's move on.
Chapter 17. Nassun versus how Nassun came to understand Shafa's love versus Jija's love.
So, Nassun has been practicing with the silver.
She has.
Which I think is interesting that that's her word for magic. Like that's how she talks about it. That's how she like explains it to herself. The silver. She figured out basically how to like use magic as a suture.
Yeah.
You know, like so she just like weaves it through shit to heal. And she figured out like how to, you know, do it while also not harming people, like how to numb those nerves before doing something. Like she practiced on ants, and she actually practiced on a woman, like an actual human woman. And then, like, you know, she felt like she was ready. She just fucking was like, Shafa, 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 Shafa.
Oh, no.
Interesting thing about this chapter, we figure out what the chips are called. The not chips, the things from Earth. They're called core stones.
And see, these are things you notice and totally over my head.
Well, Nassun kind of like takes a moment to be like, oh, that's what it's called. Okay. Like in her, like internally.
There was also like a quote in here that I highlighted that I thought was interesting. And it's like when she is basically like, Shafa, Shafa. And she runs into the other guardians. And she says, or she thinks just because they want to kill her is no reason to forget her manners. Like, that's still a priority. She's so young, like, and so, like, not like her mom yet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I guess Asun is, but...
What do you think of Nassun versus the Maya? Like, do you think they behave similarly?
Yeah, I would say they probably do. I think that it's just interesting because, like, the relationship with Shafa is so different that, like, that is the easiest comparison I see, and that is a big difference.
I mean, yeah, it affects them differently.
Yeah. She, like, struggles this whole time because she's like, she doesn't think he's gonna kill her, but she knows all the other guardians want to kill her.
If they know that she knows what Shafa told her, which is like the nature of the core stone and how it affects them, and like the fact that like she can just like give him magic to feed her core stone. Because so the reason why that stuck out to me is because I like to know the names of things. That helps me understand like how this shit works. Sure. I like thinking about how this shit works. Yeah. He's got a fucking bit of evil earth in him that gives him the power to be immortal and to suck the magic out of things to stay alive. Yeah. That is how this fucking thing works. And it's like constantly like feeding on magic, or if not magic. Like, I think that's why it's fucking him up, because it's like feeding on his magic. And so to stay alive, he's got to feed on other people's magic. He's a magic vampire.
That's a great way to put it. And she hates seeing him suffering. Yeah. And she loves him and wants him to not hurt anymore. And she's like, I can fix this so fucking easily.
I can get the thing out of you. And he's like, no, don't take out my core stone. If you do that, I'm going to die in like 3 or 4 months. Yeah. Because I'm going to get really old really quickly. So like, yeah, you'll take away my pain, but you'll kill me.
And she doesn't almost even care.
She wants to just, she wants to do the thing.
She's like, you're in pain. Yeah. Like, so what if you'll die? Like,
I'm gonna fix you now. Yeah. Yeah. And she almost does it anyway.
I know.
Like, that's the thing. Like,
and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
But I mean, like, here's how I'm thinking about this, right? This is something that people, like, like, he's got, like, a fucking evil magic thing in him, right? But, like, let's look at this, like, you know, metaphorically speaking. Let's look at this as just people. As we get older, we do deal with more aches and pains than we used to. And, like, you know, fact of the matter is, at some point, you're gonna get injured in such a way that you're going to have a new pain that you never had before that won't go away for the rest of your life.
That's something to look forward to.
It sucks. It fucking sucks. But you know what happens after a while? You get used to it. Yeah. And it just becomes background pain.
And that's how you think Shafa looks at this.
That's how I think Shafa looks at this for sure. He's like, I can endure this pain. I want to keep living.
I've had this pain my whole life. It is what it is.
I mean, what he remembers of his life anyways. Yeah. This episode
is brought to you by the Greg Bush for House District 50 campaign. Greg Bush is a registered nurse, nurse's advocate, proud union member, husband, and father who has called Columbia home for 18 years as of this May. I know him from church, and I co-starred with his wife in a Maplewood Barn production last year, The Crucible. She played Tituba. I played Reverend Hale. And now Greg, is running for House District 50, which is in Southern Columbia. He worked his way up the ranks at MU Healthcare and put himself through school to become a registered nurse after starting as a janitor in 2006. He's running as an advocate for patients and nurses since he's been on the front lines of watching the outcome of extremist politicians in Jeff City. He has 3 children, 1 a graduate, with 2 children still in Columbia Public Schools. He will be a fierce advocate for public education in Columbia. As a member of a working family, he already has the endorsement of 2 of the largest unions in Missouri since he's a union member and has been for nearly a decade. Check him out at Greg Bush for House District 50 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider voting for him in November. And if you can't vote for him because you don't live in House District 50, consider donating to his campaign. I have an Act Blue link that will be included in the episode description. Back to the show. Like, I don't get the impression that the Core Stone affected him the way that it does now as it did before, because now I understand what happened to him in that first chapter that focused on him, right? Like, he allowed the Core Stone to save him, and by doing so it corrupted him to a significant degree, and so now he's in like a fuck ton of pain. But he accepted that pain so he could stay alive, like that's why he's alive now. He could have died back then, but he was like, no, I want to live.
It's crazy. But, I mean, I like your metaphor. I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. He's just like, old age, it is what it is.
I don't want to die.
Yeah.
This thing will keep me alive forever, or at least until I can accomplish my goal, which is, I don't know what the fuck his goal is. Like, I know. I wonder if his goal is the same as Antimony and Alabaster's goal. Like, I get the impression that it is.
I know, but why then did he want that whole comm to die?
You mean
fucking Fulcrum,
the Fulcrum, the Antarctic Fulcrum?
Yeah. Why does he give a fuck about what they're doing?
Well,
there's no Guardians there.
No, there's no Guardians there, but those are still Fulcrum-raised Origins, which I think is what he's opposed to right now. He's opposed
like, they're bitter because of how they're raised? Or?
He's opposed to anything Fulcrum because they are under the normal Guardians' thumbs.
Right.
And those Guardians are still a factor.
Right, sure. And he's obviously different than the other Guardians he's with at his little Moon University.
They are prepared to kill him based on things that they are not yet aware of.
Right.
Like, but if they became aware of it, would kill him and would kill her. Like in the last, like in the last Nassun chapter, like the Guardian that was with them, she was like, they had a fucking little standoff. Before she talked with Steel. You know.
Yeah. Well.
But so he's like, no. And so she's like, the justification being like, she needs to love Shafa less right now. So she goes seeking love with her dad.
And that always...
That part really messed with me.
Yeah.
Like, because like, we know what Gigi's deal is now. And you know what? Fuck him anyway.
I know. I want to say something real quick.
Okay.
It goes back a little bit.
Go ahead.
I would like redemption for myself. I highlighted the Core Stone. It's just because it's been a minute that I read. So I did pay attention. That mattered to me, too.
It did matter to you, too.
It did matter. I'm just dumb and I forgot about it.
Yeah, dumb, but you did forget about it.
Okay, sorry. Let's go back to Jija.
Jija was...
That son of a bitch.
His whole thing is when he was a kid... an Origin kid killed another kid, and I think the other kid was his cousin or something.
Yeah.
And so then they never saw that kid again, And ever since then, like, this trauma fucked with him. He has this, like, fucking irrational, or maybe, depending on how you look at it, entirely rational hatred for Origins. But, like, I don't think it's all that rational because, like, he can't see his daughter for who she is.
And she points out, too, like, Uche never lost control the way that he experienced in the past.
No.
And
he said, why shiny, daddy?
Yeah, and that the mama would never let Uche do that because he was so well trained.
Yeah. So something that was interesting that I don't think we brought up is that Asun, I don't remember where it came up, but like Asun was gentler with Uche.
Yeah.
You know, Asun learned from her mistakes with Nassun.
Yeah.
And so, like, she didn't need to be as brutal with him because she learned from her mistakes with her.
Yeah.
You know? But none of that shit fucking matters.
Right.
Because Jija doesn't have any of that context.
Yeah.
All he has is, like, hatred and sadness, like, in relation to all of this. And, like, he just reacted. Like, something that, like, comes up is how he fucking changed his own memories. And this is the cognitive dissonance here, right? You know what cognitive dissonance is? This shit.
Right.
Like, this shit with Jija right here.
1000%.
He cannot accept that he killed his kid, so he doesn't remember it that way.
It's crazy.
That fucking is crazy.
Yeah.
And if Nassun told him, you did that, you killed my brother, he would fucking flip out and react in exactly the way that he did. Like when she told him, Daddy, I like myself. I like who I am. I like what I am. I like being an Origin. I don't want to lose these gifts. Because that's how she views them. She views them as gifts. He views it as a poison. He's like, why haven't you cured yourself yet? And
this I highlighted because I felt like it was big too. It's like, she said, it isn't fair that he calls Origins liars and then demands that she lie. And, like, that's a big thing. Like, he, like, wants her to be in the ruse with him.
Yeah.
And he just lies to himself constantly.
It's the only way that he could survive. Because if he could accept the reality of the situation, he'd probably have, like, an identity crisis and kill himself or something.
Yeah.
You know? Like, if he had to accept the gravity of all of the choices he'd made up to this point, I don't think that kind of man could continue to live with himself. Right? Like, so he fucking projects all of that outside of himself.
Yeah.
I'm not the problem. Origins are.
Right. And it's just nuts because she comes to the understanding at the age that she is at this moment that, like, I think she's had this realization before, but the fact that he will never love her and he can never be an Origins father, because the only way he could ever love her is if she's something that she's not.
Yeah.
And she's not going to do that because she has learned to accept that part of herself. And she likes being it. Because this is another interesting thing, right? Because she doesn't really play with orogeny. She plays with magic. She's a magician. She's a she's a magician. I like that. She's playing with something else. Yep. Something that he doesn't even understand. And if she were to even attempt to explain it, he would freak the fuck out. I mean, he freaks out anyways. Yeah. And so then, because he hits her... This is just badass. I love it. Yeah, this is just insane. So, she basically just ices the entire house except for Jija. Yeah. Which is, you know, the control... the beauty of this, like, I loved it.
I could kill you, but I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
But because, again, of who Jija is, which is just a fucking coward, really.
Yeah.
He can't deal. He is terrified. He freezes and he's crying.
Mm-hmm.
He's crying, weeping, like, as Lamorte Arthur would put it, such great dole.
That's amazing. Oh my god. A little cross episode here.
That's what's happening
Yeah.
right now. Like, he can't, like, he's just a mess in this one spot on the floor, and she leaves.
And she said, peace out.
She said, peace fucking
Fuck you.
out. Fuck you.
Yeah, love it.
And so,
and then that's the chapter.
That's a chapter. There wasn't an end blurb, as I recall.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, go ahead.
I think there is. Hold on.
Yeah.
And the last tear she shed, as he burned her alive with ice, broke like the shattering upon the ground. Stone your heart against Ragas, for there is nothing but rust in their souls. From Laura's Tale, Ice Kisses, recorded, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada.
Not reading any of that.
No, it's long, and they're words I'm going to fuck up. So
Okay.
It's a Laura's Tale, okay?
Mm-hmm. So what do you make of that?
Just more hate, discrimination. They're fed this bullshit about these people forever.
Yep.
And it's a part of their society, and it's a miracle that anyone comes out without that anybody can make it out with like a clear head, and like places like Kostrima even can exist.
So that blah, 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 blah stuff you said
Is important.
Note, a letter signed by 7 equatorial itinerant Lorists disavows Waz, because that was who it came from, Waz Lorist Bebek.
Right.
They disavow Waz as a pop Lorist hack.
Oh my god. Okay, it was.
Tale may be apocryphal. You know what that means?
No.
It means that it's not canon.
It's not what?
It's not canon to the tablets.
Okay, so it's just bullshit.
Well, so in reference to the Bible, like when something is apocryphal, that means it's a story that didn't make it into the Bible.
It's a side quest.
Well, the Bible is a compendium of a bunch of stories.
Yeah.
So they took all these Christian stories and put it into one book called the Bible.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of apocryphal tales, which are tales that could have been in the Bible.
But why are they not then?
It didn't support the narrative that the Bible wanted to tell. For instance, there is a story that talks about heaven, but it's fucking boring, so they didn't put that shit in there.
Everything's to serve a narrative. Interesting.
Anyways.
I loved that.
So basically, like, what this note is saying is like, don't fucking believe this shit.
But,
this shit is bullshit.
So it was important, and I stand corrected. I just didn't feel like reading all of it aloud.
Yeah.
Chapter 18. You, counting down. How you came to kill your old love, and how you stopped the vote.
So, it's almost time to vote. It is... I mean, that's what the countdown is.
Well, and Ho, it starts off right away where Ho's like, look, I lied. He literally says that right off the bat.
What does he say exactly?
He says, the one you call Gray Man doesn't want to prevent the opening of the gate. I say, I lied. That's what he literally says, I lied.
Oh, that very beginning, that like first paragraph, I lied to you.
Yeah, basically.
But then it goes into the normal narrative, right?
Yeah, and well, he's like, you're so wary of me now. It troubles you. I can see you. You want to trust me. But I think that, we're struggling with the fact that this is no longer a little boy. It's a kind of a creepy monster looking man. And we find out basically the Gray Man does want the gates opened. But he wants it by someone who he can control. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like essentially all of that. Like he's like he's gonna kill you because you can't be manipulated.
Yeah.
So we're just like, sick. And then it goes into basically the vote that we've got.
Yeah, they're counting
about a
down to the
day,
vote.
yeah.
People are voting. There's a voting box like on the flat top in the center of the place. That's where everybody's going to vote. And they're all voting on little slips of paper.
And there's lots of tension. People are like staying together within their groups, like the Origins are together.
Yeah.
And then somebody, Cutter, makes a little bit of an oopsie.
So, I thought this was interesting.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know what happened. There is one thing we know definitively, which is that someone hit Cutter.
No, Cutter ice. Oh yeah, and then
Cutter iced someone.
Right.
Sorry, we know what Cutter says. We know what we see. What we see is Cutter iced someone. What Cutter says is he got punched in the back of the head.
Right.
Which I thought was a very interesting thing, right? Because it's based on this whole like myth that if you want to beat an Origin, you should punch their Sesapine.
Yeah.
Which is not. It's bullshit.
It won't do anything.
I mean, like, yeah, it'll do something, but in the same way that punching anyone in the back of the head would do something. It doesn't do something.
Hurts.
It fucking hurts. It doesn't do anything special to the Sesapine. But like punching an Origin in the back of the head is basically like the way I interpreted this. Like, this is a fucking race crime.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Like, just fucking punched Cutter in the back of the head.
So Cutter said "fuck you" and iced him.
Right. And nobody witnessed him do it.
Right.
Or, like, nobody cops up to it. Like, there's one lady that's like, I looked away. I thought, like, they got into a little argument about soap or something.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, I didn't see it happen. I just, like, felt the cold and I looked and he was ice.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so then, like, these tensions are building. We hear
people want justice for this stuff.
They do. They very much do.
Yeah.
And so what winds up happening is Yika fucking kills him. She fucking like a whole Doctor Strange soul out of body moment. He's dead now. Like just fucking whacks him in the chest with her palm, and we assess something similar to when Pirate Daddy Enon was killed. His name is Enon, by the way.
Oh my god.
When Pirate Daddy died, she assesses something similar happening here, just not as brutal. Because, like, I mean, like, like, to me, I feel like she just made his heart stop.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like, it's like that moment when a little kid gets hit in the chest with a baseball and their heart stops. Like, that's what happened here.
But his heart didn't start again, right?
No. No, he just died.
Yeah. And that seemed to, like, appease the people.
Everyone, yeah, no. And Ika's just like, I did what I had to do. And we're like, yeah, you did.
That's what's, like, so interesting is, like, they definitely have different strategies when it comes to, you know, hearing, like, interacting with the people in the comm. Like, Ika is, like, such a leader, I think, in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But, like, when it comes to the end of it, they have a lot of similarities.
Say soon.
Yeah.
What similarities are you noticing?
Well, I noticed that, like, they're gonna do and there's some other references that I think of that are later in the book, but, like, they're gonna make the hard fucking choices for the greater good of the comm. Yeah. And, like, Ika is going to she cares a lot more about democracy than Asun does. Yeah. Asun is like, these people are dumb, they can't make that choice. Ika's like, I want to give them the choice, but at the end of the day, they both are like, we want the greater good for everybody. Yeah.
So, like, she kills them, and they're like, the votes. She says the vote stops in some amount of time. I don't remember off the top of my head.
And I'm pretty sure Asun's like, fuck the vote, man. This is stupid.
Well, not in that moment.
Okay.
What happens is a little bit later. There is a woman who this is a woman who was like selling illicit stuff back in the day, right? Like this woman kept all of her illicit stuff, mainly booze, in Castrima Under before all this shit happened.
Right.
And so when everyone moved down here, people were willing to forgive her because she always shares her shit. So she's sharing with everyone, but now she's drunk and she's beating an orogenic child, and it fucking triggers Asun, and she turns her to stone.
Yeah, she remembers Uche.
She remembers Uche and fucking turns him to stone. Her to stone, and is like, not one more child.
Oh my god, I know. She's going up into the obelisk, the whatever gemstone it is.
Yeah, she
and
taps into the obelisk to do this, and she doesn't like have a lot of good control here, and so
Alabaster.
Yeah.
He's like, God damn it.
this moment was foreshadowed really well.
Yeah.
You and I, we talked about this after we read this.
But
Because in an earlier chapter, when she got triggered, she stormed off to Alabaster and just stood in front of him fuming, and he's like, what? What? Look, whatever's wrong, you're gonna have to figure it out yourself. I can't stop you anymore.
right.
And she was fucking mad at him because, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, and now in this moment, when she straight up lost control, he does stop her, and it kills him.
Ugh. Well, yeah, it does kill him. Yeah.
It kills him, and
it's terrible.
And
and now we got a new trauma that we get to deal with.
Yeah.
Alabaster's totally stone after we are back with it. We run to him. He's stone. It's time to vote.
And she takes the spinal.
And she says, fuck this. There's gonna be no vote.
She uses it to atomize the fucking voting box. We don't vote on if people should die or not.
Yeah, I love it.
We stand together, or I'm gonna kill every last one of you.
It's not great. I get that. It's not great. But I also love it.
It's a powerful move.
It is powerful.
What do you think of that chapter?
What do you mean?
We just did, just closing thoughts on that chapter. What do you think?
That we have we have new baggage we get to carry now. We killed our old lover, our bestie,
Yeah.
our mentor.
Yeah.
Now we got that shit I have to deal with.
Yeah.
If it's not one thing, it's something else. You know?
Yeah. Life sucks and then you die.
Again, I love the exploration of this relationship and the differences, similarities between Ika and Nassun. It's a great chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great because we're getting more tension, we're getting a little bit more suspense of what's to happen.
You know what I see?
Yeah.
I see the kind of person Asun could have been if she was accepted in her home comp like Ika was.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Because you're right, they are very similar. Ika is the kind of woman who, she was left to her own devices and had to, train up herself, really.
Yeah.
She's still talented, just not in the same way.
And she hasn't lost all hope in humanity and, people.
No. She hasn't been shown the worst of humanity.
Right.
So she still believes there's good in humanity.
Yeah.
Which, I wonder, this is kind of more philosophical, I don't know if the book really gets into this.
Yeah.
I wonder if being shown the worst of humanity, just inherently something about it makes you believe that that's all humanity is.
Interesting.
Maybe the only way you can see the good in humanity is if you're not shown the worst. Right? Maybe if you're shown the worst, you can't see anything but the worst.
I don't know. I think that
or maybe not can't, but just it's hard.
It's hard because there's part of it, I feel like there's some naivete that is a part of this.
How do you mean?
There are people, I think that there are people who have seen some of the worst of humanity that still believes in the good of it, And whether that's because they're optimistic that they have something in them that other people don't, or I don't know. It kind of goes back to trauma.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to like how what we were talking about, I think in the past episode, of like, you know, trauma happens to people. It happens to people every day. And then people have two options. Or people have multiple options of how it's going to affect them. It's either going to make them abusers or change them, or it's going to make them cower or, you know, it's like the same thing happens in this regard. I feel like I'm just like saying word soup right now, but
I feel like what you're trying to get at, if I can parse the word
please.
soup,
Yeah.
is that well, you know, in the last episode I brought up my father,
Yeah.
and how he could have just as easily gone another way.
Right.
Like he saw some of the worst of humanity.
Yeah.
And did not like, rather than being like, this is all humanity is, he was like, I will not be that.
Yes, exactly. There's just, she connects everything. I'm talking about MK now. Like,
yeah. It's all
genius.
Well, I mean, yeah, like it's all connected. Like,
Yeah.
she's not just like telling nonsense.
This
Like
is our
it
network.
means something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And
Bravo.
we are almost done with this book, guys.
Oh my God.
Like, I hope you've been enjoying it as much as we have.
It's beautiful. I'm gonna ask you this since we're, well,
Do you want? Is it appropriate to ask now or in the next episode?
let's ask at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We will see you guys in 2 weeks and 5 minutes, depending on the point of view. For us, 5 minutes. So, we love you. We hope you've been enjoying, and we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.